Do you know what I really like about your podcast, about Construction Sport Podcast, is you don't have the trailer at the beginning and you don't have the, oh, we do this and we do that, and a cheesy video of you standing in a suit explaining what it is.
Just go with it.
Yeah, it just starts with like, welcome back. And I'm like, oh, pay attention. Oh, okay, it's on. Stop the car, listen.
And it's literally that.
Yeah. Well, whatever you're doing, it's not important.
Hello, welcome. There you go, gotcha. The Construction Sport Podcast is back. Ryan Parke, welcome. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Steve.
I've seen you in action in person last year. And
sounds ominous.
Jack Nixon says, got to get him on. I said, good, as soon as we can get your time in. And I appreciate you getting on, because I know you kind of open up my eyes to the world of testosterone, as we say. But,
wow.
And how it works and operates. And we all know the word, and probably we're misinformed by a lot, I suppose, online. But where did it all start? What's it all about?
So the story started for me in June 2019, where I bump into a lady who I've not seen in years. And I'm really excited to hear the latest about her son, because Jenny's son, Brad, he's taller than me, more muscular. Some would say slightly better looking. I know it's hard for you to believe, mate, but trust me, a strong argument could have been made. But the important thing to know is Brad had a fast car, big house, great job. Plus, he's a dad with a loving wife. And I like to believe at the time that I was on the same trajectory as Brad, but I was just a couple of years behind because of the age difference. Then I see the look on his mum's face and I thought, oh no, what have I said to upset her? She says, oh my gosh, Ryan, you're asking me how Brad is. You don't know. Brad's taken his own life. Now, I was really taken aback by that, mate, for a few different reasons. So one reason was the initial loss of Brad. Was not expecting that at all. But the other thing that really took me back is at that point in my life, I'd always heard and believed that the reason why men might die from suicide at higher rates than women is because men don't talk and don't reach out for help. And yet Brad was the most open and articulate man that I knew. In fact, I found out after his death that 2 years before he died, he decides now's the time to reach out and get some help with his mental health. So it's good that he did that. One of the ways that he went to get some help was he went to see his doctor. Brad's doctor did what doctors are trained to do. So Brad was referred to talking therapy and prescribed antidepressants. Brad attends talking therapy, took antidepressants. And 2 months before his death, his mum, Jenny, who works in mental health herself, said, Brad, call me every night, tell me how you feel, because you've got to get these feelings off your chest. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not for 1 second suggesting these things didn't help Brad. I'm sure they did. But what struck me at the time, Steve, was here was a man who'd done all the things that we tell men in crisis to do, yet he still didn't survive. I wondered what else could Brad have done? And Brad's mum, Jenny, said to me, Ryan, you should learn about this, because she explained every 5 hours, 4 people take their own lives in the UK and Ireland. 3 of them are men. And we know from statistics released a couple of years ago that in the construction industry in the UK, we lose 2 men every working day to suicide. So I took what Jenny said really seriously. There and then I set aside 1 day every week from June 2019 to the end of the year to learn everything that I could about male mental health. I didn't really know where to start, so I just started asking big questions and reading scientific studies, looking for the answers. On my very first day of research, I'm reading this study and it stops me in my tracks because it just happened to mention there appears to be 1 day every year where heart attacks in men jump up by potentially as much as 30%. And yet on the same day of the year, heart attacks in women actually seem to go down. So I'd normally ask, can you guess what day of the year that is?
This is fascinating. I've always said it to a few people as well, because it makes so much sense. It was the spring, this time of year as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
time of year.
Yeah,
the clock change.
At the point this goes out, it's going to be really, really close to that. So the day every year where heart attacks seem to jump up in men by potentially as much as 30%, and on the same day go down in women, is the Monday after the clocks jump forward.
After, I saw it somewhere yesterday. I was like, I can't remember what it was, but it's not the exact day, but it's just the Monday after.
Monday after.
Yeah. What days it fall on this day, Al?
Probably the end of March, won't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, spring forward. Yeah, a little fact check. And again, Joe Rogan-esque, can we go?
Yeah, I like that. Are you going to put the sources on the screen and stuff? I love that.
Sunday, 29th of March.
Sunday, the 29th of March.
Yeah.
So we'd be saying that Monday, would it be?
Monday the 30th, yep. That's the day. So that'll be the day in 2026.
And that's happening every year as well, are they seeing?
And it's been found in different countries that have clock changes.
Wow.
So when I learned that, I wondered, why? Like, why would the exact same thing happening impact men and women so differently? That never really occurred to me that could happen.
Yeah.
And I found no single studies tried to answer that. So I spent about the next 6 hours just reading around the phenomenon myself, trying to understand it in more detail. And here are some things I learned, Steve, that I thought seemed pretty relevant. So when the clocks jump forward by an hour, in theory, we should go to bed an hour early to avoid losing sleep. But do you ever actually do that?
No, sounds not got down yet.
Yeah.
It literally is, isn't it?
No one does that, right?
No.
We just accept we're going to lose an hour's sleep.
Yeah.
So what happens in your body when you lose even an hour's sleep depends upon whether you're biologically male or female. Now, it's been found that in a male body, losing even 1 hour of sleep seems to lower a hormone called testosterone for a few days. Yeah. And in a male body, it's been found that as testosterone goes down, the chances of having a heart attack go up.
Yeah.
And when I learned that, I remember thinking, that's really weird, because I don't know about you, but at that point in my life, I'd never heard anything positive about testosterone. In fact, I remember when I was a kid and there was a fight in my local pub, I used to hear my parents' friends saying, well, it's no wonder they end up fighting. There was too much testosterone. Yeah. Have you ever heard that? Too much testosterone?
Been around it. Felt like you've been around it a lot. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it always was, isn't it? Yeah, the testosterone, the guys with the high testosterone are normally juiced up and that kind of all the negatives towards it, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, this idea that like testosterone makes men aggressive.
Yeah.
So I wondered, well, how can a hormone that causes fights in pubs seem to protect men from having a heart attack? And I decided next week I've got to learn more about this hormone testosterone. So the following week comes around. My first research question of the day was, why does testosterone make men aggressive? And I could see after about 1 hour just reading scientific studies that testosterone doesn't make men aggressive. That's just an urban myth.
Yeah.
There's no amount of naturally occurring testosterone that's associated with aggression.
Yeah. So
we can put that from our minds. In fact, there's many reasons to believe that testosterone has a calming effect on men and boys. But you never know that from its reputation.
Yeah.
So knowing that testosterone isn't bad, my next question was, why is it associated with better heart health in men?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that not only is there a link between heart health and testosterone in men, there's also many links with mental health as well.
Yeah.
So I'll give you some examples of some of the things that I learned early on. So multiple studies have found that on average, men who are depressed have much lower levels of testosterone than men who are not depressed. And in fact, some studies suggest the difference is about 30%. So men who are depressed might have 30% lower levels of testosterone than men who are not depressed. And then I start bumping into studies, research on the links between testosterone and suicide in men. And what I learned is that since the early 2000s, multiple studies have found that men who have lower levels of testosterone are more likely to have thoughts about suicide. They're likely to be stronger thoughts about suicide. They're more likely to have more previous suicide attempts, and they use more aggressive methods. In fact, there's one very old study, like very old, 1986. I'm not saying, this is cutting edge research.
That's before me.
Yeah. Before all of us in this room. So there's one very old study, and it actually measured the level of testosterone in the bodies of men who'd sadly died from suicide. So, it's sad. But the information they found from doing that experiment is they found that on average, men who died from suicide had extremely low levels of testosterone just before they died.
Wow.
Now, when I learned that, I suddenly become very interested because, well, it's quite widely known now that the biggest killer of men in the UK and Ireland today under the age of 50 is suicide. Yeah. And suicide in men and depression in men are both linked to having a low level of testosterone. But over the age of 50, the biggest killer of men in the UK and Ireland today, and the biggest killer of men worldwide, is heart disease. And heart disease, heart attack, heart failure, and high blood pressure in men are all linked to having a low level of testosterone. In fact, there's some studies that have shown that low testosterone comes first and predicts worst heart health over time. So that's relevant because that's the biggest killer of men worldwide, heart disease. But after heart disease, the next biggest killer of men in the UK today is cancer. And the most common cancer now in the UK is prostate cancer. And you could probably guess where I'm going with this because multiple studies have shown that actually in men, low testosterone predicts a much higher likelihood of being diagnosed with prostate cancer. And that prostate cancer is many times more likely to be aggressive prostate cancer, the kind that you can't leave, that has to be treated.
Yeah.
So I always start with this story because this was my first few weeks of trying to understand male mental health, and it completely flipped what I thought it was all about. I started out with these assumptions and ideas I'd never really questioned. I'd just heard them. Ideas like, testosterone's bad and men just need to talk. And pretty soon I could see, hold on a minute, testosterone isn't bad, it's actually vital. But this is something that no one tells men. I was a 29-year-old man when I learned this for myself.
Yeah.
That was some years ago. And the other thing I could see is it seemed too simplistic, that idea I used to believe in that men just need to talk. Of course, talking's vital for everyone, in many situations. But no amount of talking would fix a problem like low testosterone. It appears to me that there was more to it than just talking alone. Yeah. So that was my introduction to it, Steve. That's what got me into male mental health originally.
Because everything there, like you say, they picked up early doors that the link that it says is there's one key denominator to all of this, and the testosterone.
Yeah.
But early on in that, I was actually thinking we should do a study on the amount of men who don't have heart attacks who have punch-ups in pubs. I was thinking, you need to be the man having a punch-up in a pub to make sure. But that goes off the subject. So it's that testosterone link to it all. And why aren't we educated on it in a way that... And probably the same way you have been with that was when I got probably into the subject of just construction mental health in general. I'm no expert on any of it, but I could just see it from my own experiences. That's when I started doing my homework. I lost my stomach I had ulcerative colitis on my stomach, and I got into research and why has this happened to me? I'd never even heard of it. I'd had my large intestine removed, and then I had a bag for 18 months. Then that got reversed.
Yep.
All mad stuff. But then I just got on this pathway of like, why has this happened to me? I was never any academic at school at all. But I started studying, and I was like, I'm not even at school. I'm studying like 10 years too late now. My mum was telling me to study as a kid. I forgot to, or ignored it. And then, I just got into this thing. You start seeing all these links, and obviously listening to people like yourself and that, you go, why aren't we educated on this?
Yeah.
Because if I can work it out in my head that there's something here, and your research has backed it all up, why isn't the government going? There's really,
I mean, that's a very, very big question.
Yeah.
And probably easier to ask a little bit further on when we look more at like, what are the lifestyle factors? But ultimately, there is at the moment so much of a focus on how do we react to problems rather than how do we prevent problems. And we have to have that reaction, 100%. But at the end of the day, the more effort that goes into prevention, the less reaction we need.
Yeah. And when we talk about, I know we said it now, but the talking side of it, is it working? And we've said it a lot. We're kind of like, you can talk all you want, but what next? And we actually class ourselves a bit of a what next in construction now, because a lot of people say, we've had a talk done, and we've done this. Can you guys come in? I'm like, but we can be the what next. Come and have a kick about and have a laugh. That's all we want to do.
Awareness is the first step, but there's more to it.
Yeah. Are you seeing that a lot across the industry in terms of that first step, but we're not quite pushing past?
So I've never worked in construction, but I work with a lot of construction companies. And also I've coached now many men, because that's my story of what got me into this. But now we're 6 years in. I've now coached hundreds of men, had thousands of coaching sessions, seen thousands of goals and life changes, those kind of things.
Played a part.
And seen hundreds of different testosterone levels. So I know exactly how to change it through lifestyle. So that's really exciting. But I think that there's a real hunger for practical things that we can do, especially I find in majority male spaces like construction, is people will want to know, what are the proactive, practical, preventative things I can do? Don't just tell me when things get too bad. This is a number to call. How do I avoid that happening? Because it's more sustainable if I can prevent it.
Yeah, the prevention side of it, instead of reacting. And it's just a very British bloke thing, isn't it? It's reactive life. And I'll do that when I cross that bridge. And kind of how we can get there. So you're going in, and as you did with Phoenix, as we met there, you're going in, educating people on this. Does anything surprise you anymore with the people you come across with what you're doing and people's lack of awareness around the subject?
Oh, big question. Does anything surprise me? What does surprise me is that how universal the content that I deliver is. So I'm really privileged in that I speak in loads of different countries now. It's really wild. So,
amazing.
But in the first 6 months this year, I'll have spoken from Egypt to Sao Paulo, Brazil, Hong Kong.
Superb.
Bangkok. Took a booking yesterday for Bangkok.
Did you?
Yeah, and then at the same time, we met in London because Jack Rickson, brought you into that Phoenix ME workshop, which is where we met. Science, Male Mental Health. That was, it's really well received. So what's really surprising me at the moment is when I'm in the UK, people say, oh yeah, but it's because here men don't talk. That's the problem. It's societal. And then you get on a plane, you fly 5 hours, and you're in a completely different culture, totally different. And people say, yeah, but the problem is here men don't talk because it's societal. But if it's in every society, it's not societal. You need to find a society that's the exception. But I mean, so my thing is, I'm not slagging that approach off. I'm not saying, none of it's society. No, of course not. That'd be ridiculous. I'm not saying none of it's down to nurture. What I am saying is that, unfortunately, we tend to ignore the nature element of it, things like testosterone, when there's practical things we can do.
Yeah. So with it, when people do say, obviously, we don't talk in that, what is the problem? as such.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that's...
So in order to explain that, I would want to talk you through 2 hormones.
Yeah.
And then after we understand those 2 hormones in a bit more detail and how misunderstood they are in male mental health, then I can answer that question, what's the real problem?
Yeah.
So should we do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Start with testosterone?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Testosterone.
So we've got to start with that because that's what got me into this. And understanding testosterone is so massive for men's well-being, whether it's their mental health or their physical health.
Yep.
So 2 things we need to know. One is, why is low testosterone so bad for men? And the other thing we need to know is, how do we boost testosterone naturally?
Mm-hmm.
So first things first, from everything that I've seen, my experience working with men and I've probably read about 300 different studies around testosterone, or at least they mention testosterone in the abstract.
Yep.
So from everything I've seen, it seems to me that the problem with low testosterone is not low testosterone. The problem with low testosterone is it's actually a symptom of a much bigger problem, which some people listening will know about and some people will not. It's insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So insulin resistance is the underlying cause. Insulin resistance in our muscles leads to type 2 diabetes.
So straight away, insulin, diabetes. And
that's what we think of,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. So type 2 diabetes, that's insulin resistance in the skeletal muscles, which is why exercise can improve that, can improve blood sugar levels. Insulin resistance in our kidneys is linked to the kind of blood pressure that goes up when you have salt. It's called salt-sensitive hypertension.
Okay.
Insulin resistance in our liver leads to fatty liver syndrome, where the liver's basically converting sugar to fat, filling that liver with fat, and then starts to release it out into the bloodstream. Heart disease is very strongly associated with insulin resistance. And insulin resistance in our brain is linked to depression, bipolar disorder. We can go on.
The answers are there, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is the thing.
It's very connected.
Yeah.
So wherever insulin resistance goes in your body, it causes a massive problem. Why is this relevant? Insulin resistance in the Leydig cells in the testicle causes them to make less testosterone. So many men who have low testosterone, the problem is not the testosterone. The problem is upstream. Something is causing your body to not make testosterone.
Yeah.
And that's why low testosterone is associated with things like high blood sugar levels. It's associated with a larger waistline, with high blood pressure, with type 2 diabetes. It's not because low testosterone has caused these problems. They're all symptoms of one problem. So that's why I'm a big fan of taking it could be the solution for some men when it comes to testosterone, but you're not actually addressing the root cause of the problem. It's just another of the many medications you're going to need to take, when actually the root cause is something we can potentially address or improve through lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I had to drop that in because I don't want people to think that I'm coming on here saying, oh, testosterone will solve all our problems. Yeah. Cure them all up and give them all testosterone and we'll have no problems. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to be able to tackle the underlying cause. So we need to know what are the key ingredients for a healthy level of testosterone.
Yep.
And everything that we're going to talk about is actually they're all lifestyle changes that are going to reduce insulin resistance naturally. And I'd always heard...
Naturally, that's the word.
That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
So I'd always heard that the biggest factor when it comes to testosterone levels is age. Yeah. I'd heard many people say that testosterone peaks in like late teens, early 20s, and then it slowly and naturally declines. And my experience is that is not the case. Yeah. There's lots of studies that have disproven that. And yes, older men tend to have low levels of testosterone, although not from what I've seen in my coaching practice. We might get to that.
Yeah.
But to observe that older men have lower testosterone, therefore it naturally declines, would be a bit like saying, observing that older men have larger houses, therefore houses must naturally get bigger.
Yeah.
They don't, do they?
No.
You got to move or extend it for it to get bigger.
Yeah.
So you have to ignore...
Bust your bollocks.
Yeah, you have to bust your bollocks. So you have to ignore how things actually work to make that conclusion that, testosterone naturally declines. Yeah. Right, it doesn't have to. So what we need to know, though, is the key ingredients, and I think there's 5 key ingredients. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk through them. Do you want to have a guess at what those big key ingredients are?
I always say the outdoors, fresh air, daylight, sun, vitamin D.
Yep.
The main ones.
Sun, vitamin D, that's going to make one of our 5.
Yep. Diet, I suppose, diet's going to be, is that your vegetables, your fruit and veg?
Diet's number 1.
Diet's number 1.
Although I might explain that putting fruit and veg in the same basket when it comes to hormones is pretty dangerous.
Is it really?
Yeah, I don't mean in your shopping basket. I mean, they both impact us in different ways.
Yeah.
So the thing that unites them is they both come from plants. I get that. But fruit and veg do different things to your blood sugar levels.
Okay.
So
interesting.
you know, classing them together is it doesn't help us.
Yeah.
So diet, vitamin D.
Exercise,
yep.
Yeah, and there's 2 more.
Yeah.
I should know this if I've been there.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. What's the other 2?
Memorable training. Memorable training I delivered.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's not you. It's definitely me. Look at my school record. What are the other 2?
Would you like to know?
It's not drugs. Go on.
So 5 key ingredients. This is based on everything I've seen. You know, the information that's in my book. I include the sources in there in case anyone wants to read more. So number 1 is diet. It's what we eat.
Yeah.
Right. Specifically, if I'm in a room with people and I say, what kind of diet? Everyone says, healthy diet. But the problem is, what do we think of as a healthy diet? Mm-hmm. So since 2020, there's some studies that have been really clear on this. Basically, in order to maintain and increase testosterone levels, men need to have a diet that's low in carbohydrates that raise blood sugar levels and high in natural fats. And so eating a diet that's low in carbohydrates and high in fats is going to improve and maintain testosterone levels. Eating a diet that is low in fat and high in carbohydrates is going to reduce testosterone levels.
Okay, interesting.
So that's the first thing we need to know is that in my experience, the biggest difference between men with high and low testosterone is the sheer grams of carbohydrates they're eating.
Can you see that in patterns across the world, different cultures and ways their diets?
So not only do we tend to see that, but the other thing that we see as well is that testosterone is declining every year in men. And I don't mean if you follow this man, his testosterone declines every year. I mean, if you take men of any age today and compare them with men who were the same age 20, 30, 40 years ago, testosterone is falling off a cliff.
Is it really?
Yeah, testosterone levels are, I could just roughly say they're about half what they were half a century ago.
Is there an element of we've got everything given to us now and not having to go out and fend or go and hunt for the hunting kind of nature that we would have had years?
Yeah, it depends who you talk to.
Yeah.
So most people say, we don't know.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. So most people say, we don't know. You know, it could be microplastics in the water. It could be estrogen that's in our drinking water. It could be all these different things. And people exercise less. But to me, it's pretty clear because when you take men and change their diet, their testosterone levels go back up to what testosterone used to be.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. So after I read a few studies in 2020 which showed that low carbohydrate diets boost testosterone in men. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, what the studies found is the lower your testosterone at the beginning, the more it increases during a low carbohydrate diet. Mm-hmm. So it's not right to think, mine's really low, so changing my diet won't help. The lower it is, the more changing your diet will help, which is a really positive message.
Yeah.
So when I learned that, I thought, I'm going to change my diet and see what happens. So you've had guests on before who've spoken about testosterone levels, and that's great. So testosterone is measured in nanomoles per litre in the UK.
Okay.
It's measured in different things in America, but let's stick to that for now. Mm-hmm. So the average level of testosterone in healthy, non-obese men under the age of 40, so let's just say average level of testosterone for healthy men, is 18.5 nanomoles per litre. Mm-hmm. Now, at the beginning of my little experiment where I changed my diet, mine was 20.4. It was about 20. You know, I did a couple of measurements. It was always around 20. So I changed my diet and 8 weeks later, it jumped up to about 23.5. So I thought, 15% improvement. Go Ryan.
Yeah.
But I felt so good. My energy levels were so much better.
Yep.
You know, work was better. Concentration was better. Sleep was better. You don't need to know what else was better. But everything in my life seemed better when I changed my diet. I improved my diet. And so I thought, I'm just going to carry on eating the same thing.
Everyone's saying a cliche thing that everyone a week after changing the diet goes, I feel something more. Yeah. And then you're back.
We go, it didn't work because I didn't keep it up.
Yeah.
So I felt so much better. And then after about 8 months, my wife Emma says, you've been doing a low carbohydrate diet for 8 months now. You've got to measure your testosterone. I said, yeah, of course. I don't know why I forgot to do that. So I measure it again and it comes back as 29.5. So it's now almost twice what's thought to be average in healthy men today. And in the years since working as a coach, every man I've worked with who's changed his diet, so reducing carbohydrates. So yes, that means energy drinks are a problem, but we all kind of know that. Yeah. Sugar in tea, get rid of that. You don't want to be absorbing sugar out of liquid. Yep. But it also might mean that we want to do things like be careful about other carbohydrates, things like porridge, pasta, rice. Because unfortunately, if men decide they're going to improve their diet, you head to Dr. Google And you'll come away from Dr. Google believing that you need to count calories, minimize saturated fats, and eat lean proteins. Now, if you said to me, Ryan, you got a challenge, you got to halve your testosterone in the next 6 months, that's what I'd eat. I'd have porridge for breakfast, banana, rice and chicken for lunch.
Yeah.
I'd maximize carbohydrates, minimize fat, and have lots of lean protein. And I would reduce my testosterone by doing that.
Really, yeah.
So that's a big problem, because lots of us are following a diet that we think is going to improve our hormonal health, and it's actually not.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just thinking that. It's just so funny, so Dr. Google thing, and the amount of people shouting out different diets online. You don't do. How do you measure your testosterone? You personally as well. In that case, how was you measuring it? So I'm going to touch on the story that we done. What we didn't get aired in the end because it went wrong. I was going to tell you what it was. We literally come off it. I was like, and there was one of these websites that says testosterone testing kit. All you got to do is put a knife in your hand and bleed into it and send it off.
Oh gosh!
And we'd done it, and we done it as a test. And I was like, "There's the 3 of us do it," and we done the prick thing, and we tried to get out, and it worked. And we're literally ringing the fingers, going, "This ain't working. This ain't working." And I wanted to do it and kind of make a little video around. We've tested, and we've got this. We're all different ages. And we didn't even get enough. I couldn't get enough. I got quite a bit, and Alex, I think, got a little bit more. Will struggled to get some.
Did you shower?
No.
Shower, press ups.
Oh, really? Yeah, get the blood pumping.
Yeah.
So we've done, and then we sent it off, and we were nowhere near the minimum line anyway.
They won't be able to do anything with that.
But they come back and said, we've got low testosterone.
Okay. But so they got a result from it?
Yeah, but in our head, I was like, there's not enough. So I was just a bit like, is that the right way? Should we do it? How should we measure it? Was that the right way? But we just messed it up, basically.
Well, you got a result.
Yeah.
You got a result, so it worked.
Yeah.
So there are lots of blood tests now in the market that are between like 35 and 45 pounds.
Okay.
Which I'm not saying, everyone's got 45 pounds. I'm not saying that at all. But what that means is for less than 100 quid, you can do an experiment on your own body where you measure your testosterone, change your lifestyle for 12 weeks, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
I've got so there's 2 labs that I've used recently.
Yep.
So one is Randox Health.
Okay.
And the reason why I mention them is because they have probably one of the best value blood tests at the moment. You get lots of markers around the periphery of testosterone, free testosterone as well.
Yep.
You know, things like luteinizing hormone, the signal from your brain to your balls to make testosterone. So it's good news. However, I've started working with a lab recently who are called Self, SELPH.
Okay.
And I found that their service and their explanations, their reference ranges are even better. So it costs a little bit more, but that's who I'm using at the moment for my coaching clients.
Okay,
is Self. So it's inexpensive, finger prick test.
Yep.
Get the blood out, send it off.
Press ups and hot shower.
Hot shower, press ups. Otherwise, you've got these cold hands like I've got now.
Yeah, and we were pretty much in here exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it was winter as well, I think.
Yeah.
So everything was going against it.
So you've got cold hands, if you squeeze the finger to get it out, then it ruins the quality of the blood as well.
Okay.
So you can get told that I'm sorry, but we couldn't measure that.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to do.
Yeah.
I've got to say one thing on the subject of diets before we move on to the other things.
Yeah.
Which is, if you are taking medication, especially if it's for obesity, diabetes, or high blood pressure, you have to speak to your healthcare provider before you change your diet.
Okay.
Because what you're doing by minimizing carbohydrates is you're actually reducing insulin resistance, which is also associated with things like obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So you can't just change your diet and keep taking the same medication, because you could end up dangerously over-medicated.
Yep.
So I worked with a man, in the book I call him Steve. It's not his real name.
Strong name.
There you go. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. Steve, it's all right.
Was it me?
It's a good name,
Good looking guy.
Go for it. Handsome guy. All Steves are. So I'm working with this man called Steve. So Steve's working with me because he's been reaching out for help with low testosterone for months. Never had a conversation with anyone about food, even though he's been dealing with the NHS. Yep. And he's doing all the things that we're told to do. He's taking the fat out of his food, eating lean proteins, all those things. So anyway, he joins my coaching program, and we do a workshop together where I talk about how different foods impact testosterone levels, and he decides, I'm going to change my diet. So he changed the next day. His normal breakfast was porridge, raisins, and a banana.
Yeah. And
he changed that for avocado, salmon, and asparagus. Okay, and cream cheese. So it's like he's laying on all the natural fats, protein, good things. Anyway, so he eats that. Normally at 11 o'clock, his blood pressure would raise so much he has to take medication for it. But it didn't go up So he says to me, what do I do? And I said, I'm not a doctor, mate. I told you, call your doctor. Don't do this without your doctor being involved. So he calls his doctor, and his doctor says, if your blood pressure's in the normal range, don't take that medication. And his doctor says, measure it again this evening tomorrow. Good advice. He's never taken that medication since. In the 12 weeks after changing his diet, he came off 4 medications. He reversed his type 2 diabetes in 4 weeks. So its technical term is it went into remission. And when he attended the training put on by his NHS trust to manage his diabetes, his type 2 diabetes, the trainer said he was the first man he'd ever seen who, by the time he came to the training, had already got his blood sugar levels down to the point where he didn't have type 2 diabetes. Yeah, for him it was life-changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason why I share that story is because he was only 1 meal in, and he already had to discontinue 1 medication, but he had to do it with his doctor's guidance because, I'm a coach, I'm not a doctor. So you have to involve, if you're taking medication, you have to involve the right people. Yeah,
definitely. It's so fascinating, isn't it? Because you always hear that bit, people can reverse these things. They think they're on medication for life because Google says you're going to be on medication for life and everyone around you says you're going to be. But then, I suppose it's people being late. It's laziness from us all, really, and not researching properly in the level that you clearly have.
Yeah, but also Steve was doing all the things he was told to do.
Yeah.
He was eating the food we're told to eat. He was following the UK's nutritional guidelines.
Yeah.
He didn't realise that if you follow the nutritional guidelines, you're eating a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet, and that's not going to reduce your blood sugar levels to the point where you don't have type 2 diabetes anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not my opinion. There's been some studies by like University of Manitoba, and there's some guidance for doctors showing that if you follow the current nutritional guidelines, you won't stop being diabetic, type 2 diabetic.
Yeah.
So food is number one, but there's also 4 other big links in the chain that we have to get right.
Yeah.
Should we dive into them?
Go for it. Lead us.
So food number 1. Number 2, sleep.
Sleep. Yeah. Sorry. Sleep. Yeah. Of course it is.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You knew it. Just didn't want to say it. So sleep's really massive.
Yep.
I mean, we had a clue earlier with the clocks change, hour of sleep, that kind of thing. So it's been found that every hour that men sleep, testosterone seems to increase, and every hour men are awake, it seems to decrease. And that's why if you get a testosterone test, you're always told to test in the morning. That's because you've just woken up from sleeping.
Yep.
That's when it's highest in the day.
Gotcha.
And there's a 2018 study that they basically took a massive sample of men and looked at testosterone levels and lifestyle factors. And they found that each hour of missed sleep seemed to reduce testosterone as much as 12 years of aging. Now, it's only temporary.
Yeah.
But it's important to know because often the conversation around low testosterone focuses on aging. Oh, it naturally declines as you age. I'm getting old. And yet a single hour of missed sleep impacts testosterone more than a decade of aging. Why are we focusing on aging?
Yeah.
Like when it's easier to focus on sleep. We've got more control over our sleep than our aging. Not perfect control, of course. We might be working an important project or something, which means we can't sleep.
It just leads back to why the construction suffers, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. And in fact, all the practical things, like if we look at diet, like if I'm working a project, I'm just going to nip out and get some lunch. What am I going to get?
Yeah.
Sandwiches, bread, raise my blood sugar levels, that kind of thing. I'm going to might end up drinking Lucozade or Red Bull to keep my energy up.
Yeah.
So the end result is the exact food that I would avoid if I wanted to boost my testosterone levels are the kind of food that I'm probably going to end up eating if I'm short on time. Yeah. Unless I know how do I eat real food and it not take up too much time and not be too expensive. But we're not taught that.
Yeah.
But it is very doable. So we've got diet, we've got sleep. You got the next one, exercise.
Yeah.
So NHS says every adult needs 150 minutes of exercise a week. That's moderate intensity exercise. Anything you do where you could still talk, but you wouldn't be able to sing. And you might listen to me and think, well, Ryan, you clearly can't sing. And you're right, I can't.
I'm not judging.
Well, my singing voice sounds like this, but louder. So key thing is we've got to get 150 minutes of exercise a week.
Okay.
That's 20 minutes a day and 2 resistance sessions. But what I find is that when men want to increase their testosterone levels, we tend to go, it's all about weights. Yeah. And weights are not going to increase your testosterone levels. It's going to be about cardiovascular exercise and especially intense exercise that uses our legs. So just putting that into real exercise, jumping squats are going to be great for testosterone levels. Bench press is probably going to make no difference. But naturally, because we sort of associate testosterone with all those strength, and that's right, but but lifting weights alone is not going to boost testosterone levels. And there's a really interesting study, which I shared you in the session that you came to.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, they did this big, it's called a meta-analysis, but what that means is it's a study of studies.
Yep.
So you get loads of data and see what the pattern is. And it showed that once you get to 150 minutes of exercise a week, exercise appears to be 1.5 times more effective than antidepressants and 1.5 times more effective than CBT talking therapy when it comes to treating depression, stress, and anxiety.
Yeah.
And that takes nothing away from talking therapy or antidepressants, but I think it puts in perspective. Because if you've got a friend or a colleague and he goes to see his doctor today because he's feeling depressed, it's very possible he'll come away from that conversation with a referral for talking therapy, prescription for antidepressants, just like Brad did.
Yeah.
But your friend might not yet know that the most effective thing he can do is something that has no waiting list, no lead times, no nasty side effects.
Just get out there.
Just get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Be active.
And this is I've banged me against the wall for 10 years, 15 years, probably a bit more really. And just saying that, why aren't we just pushing it? Because I fell on this whole mental health thing. I knew my own struggles and that at the time, but I put together a walk on Crossrail in 2016 and we walked the whole of Crossrail. I was on the job for 4 years anyway, working for Costains. And I said that I've had my own battles in my head and I could see everyone around me was divorced or struggling or we're all doing 6 to 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts a lot of the time, let alone 14-hour door-to-door every day, so the sleep pattern's up the wall anyway.
Yep.
Night shifts one week, days the next, everything's out. And I was like, we're all going loopy here. I need to do something. And I thought I'm going to organise. And I wasn't playing rugby at the time. And I could see that not playing rugby on a Saturday and working instead was something was going in my head going, you need to do something. So I put the walk together selfishly for my own benefits. And then 6 people done it with me. And then I realised the effect on them guys. I went, Christ, we've just been out here just talking, well, not just talking, walking along, chatting absolute crap with each other. Yeah. And we've all come off the back of it absolutely buzzing. And then from that, done a few more. And it got to a point of, what is in that kind of has done it? I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it's a lot more effective than us sitting in the office together chatting about it. You know what I mean? So, and then from there, I just reflect. I was like, why aren't we just getting our workforce out to go and do it? And the spin bikes work really well because that's 15. We put them on a job for 5 hours from 9 o'clock till 2. And we have 40 members of staff sign up to a 15-minute slot across the 2 bikes. It makes a team score at the end of it. But I
love that. Competition.
Yeah, it's competition in-house. It also goes towards
collaboration.
Collaboration is a team score at the end of it, and we compare that against other jobs as well. And it's on the job, so people haven't got to have a day out of it. And we're only asking for 15 minutes as well. And when we say to them, hit 20 mile an hour, 15 minutes, they blow the socks off and they're all sweating to pieces. And it's a real workout for 15 minutes. But the benefits we've seen from doing that, and to be honest, we justify being there a lot longer because if we go in there and do a talk for 10 minutes and disappear again, or we go in there, we can spend 5 hours with the whole workforce the whole day, and you build rapport, and then you go back and they remember you, and you pick up the same people across other jobs as well.
Right.
And it's amazing. And I'm like, we just need to do more of this. And that's what, like you say, it's free. We're not asking for people to go out and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on treatment for everybody. Just get people moving around, isn't it? And stretching your legs and getting fresh air.
And when you're doing that kind of vigorous exercise, like on a spin bike or running fast, you know, when you're exercising to the point where you can't talk in complete sentences, we've all been there. So when you're exercising to the point where you can't talk in complete sentences, you only need half as much every week for it to have the same benefits. Yeah. So then your required 150 minutes becomes 75 minutes a week.
Oh, amazing.
And it seems to have the same benefits. So push it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, if it's safe to do so.
Do you see it with alcohol as such?
Right. So our other two big factors. So number 4 is vitamin D3. Mm-hmm. So D3, if you listen to like sort of, you know, sciencey podcasts lately, then all the experts are going to be saying, it's not actually a vitamin, it's a hormone. It's actually both a vitamin and a hormone from what I've seen, but I won't bore you with why. Doesn't matter. We don't need that. What we need to know is, what is it? What does it do? So vitamin D is essential for so many things in our body, so many things. But one of the things that it seems to be important for is for a male body to create a healthy level of testosterone. Yep. So men with low D3 have low testosterone, according to quite a few sources. So how do we get it? You can take it and you can make it. You make it in your skin when you're exposed to safe sunlight. Mm-hmm. And your body is amazing at making D3. So during the summer months, you just need about 10 minutes of midday sun for a healthy level of D3. Good news, great. But in the winter months, you'd need around 2 hours of midday sun in the UK for a healthy level of D3. Many of us, we're not going to be able to get that because we're going to be indoors.
Yeah.
You know, some people will be out, granted, but some of us will be indoors doing our work, which is also important for our mental health and well-being. So not knocking that. So our NHS say most adults would benefit from supplementing D3 through the winter months, but there's a caveat, which is D3 is one of the many vitamins that is what's called fat soluble. That means your body absorbs it in fat, essentially. So it's been found that if you take a D3 supplement in a meal that doesn't contain what's that? If you take a D3 supplement, either without a meal or in a low-fat meal, you absorb no D3.
Really? Yeah.
None. So lots of men are going to go onto Dr. Google and we're going to find out, we need to take D3. So we're going to take it in a supplement, like a pill, maybe with our breakfast porridge.
Yeah.
And the end result is we're potentially not going to absorb that. So that's really important for people to know. Yeah. And actually there's some D3 supplements now that they're actually suspended in fat, like MCT oil, and you spray them in your cheeks. And your body absorbs it that way.
Yeah.
So getting the right kind of D3 and knowing how to take D3 is important. Otherwise, we might just be peeing that D3 down the toilet.
Yeah.
And then our last really big factor is sobriety. It's time without alcohol.
Is it? Yeah.
Bad news, I know.
Yeah.
But especially because for lots of people, alcohol is going to be used as a way to deal with stress, you know, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
Not saying it's a healthy coping strategy, but it's important for us to know that alcohol seems to lower testosterone levels, even though lots of people, we associate alcohol with testosterone.
Yeah.
But they don't really coexist very well.
No.
Men who've drunk for a while, or actually, let's be more correct, heavy drinking men have low testosterone at much higher rates. So they're much more likely to have low testosterone. And there's the study I mentioned earlier that looked at sleep and testosterone levels. They also looked at alcohol levels. And they found that each alcoholic drink seemed to reduce testosterone in men by roughly the same as 6 years of aging. Now, it's only temporary, but alcohol lowers testosterone in men. Men with lower levels of testosterone are much more likely to be depressed. And what do depressed men often like to do? Drink alcohol. So there's this vicious cycle.
Fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And well, to be honest, the whole idea of these bottles branded here was we had made a hydration campaign, but was pretty much off the back of people ringing us up on Monday mornings just saying or all people saying they felt crap on Mondays.
Yeah.
And they blame him Monday because their work and all that. And they'd be like, and they've got talking and we're like, hang on a sec. You're all doing 30, 40 pints of lager over the weekend. And then you wonder why you feel why you're hating Monday mornings.
Yeah.
And they haven't touched water. So we're like this, for us, this was like this easiest medicine. And there was a few, and we looked at it, and there's a couple of people we could have reached out to who've got energy-based drinks in there. And we're trying to link it up with what we do. And I was like, there's just no way of linking this up with it being healthy enough to come. So I was like, we just got to go plain water, get people hydrated.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing coming. And
Love
like,
that.
Yeah, and it was like it was invention. We've invented water. And it was like we created. But that was the thing. I was like, and that's what I was kind of saying to people. I was like, just need to hydrate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't go on antidepressants or go and booze hard and think you're going to get over it. And we'll see. I like to have grown up a little compared to mid-20s of a heavy amount of rugby and heavy amount of booze. And my missus says you'll have the blowout every 3 or 4 months. She knows it's coming. But it is, and you realise now looking back, I mean, maybe I'm involved with this whole subject of mental health because I'm really interested in it because it affected me. And they go, hang on a sec, I did booze hard for 10 years. And especially in construction again, working away from home and you do easily go get the junk food. And this was literally when, probably at the lowest of mine, when I lost my stomach and all that kind of went wrong, was we worked in Farnborough, what is the other side of the clock, technically, the M25 from here.
Yeah.
And we drove it every morning. We were doing 10 hours. So I'd leave at 5 in the morning, get back at 8 at night. And we'd done that for a period of time until we realised we're all burning out when you get digs over there. But we'd get there. And it was a Costa Coffee we were building, actually. And it was next door to a McDonald's. And the all-day breakfast wrap had just come out at that stage as well. And so we were in there. We kept getting the coupons out of the newspapers to get it discounted. We'd have it for breakfast and we'd have it for lunch. We'd have the lunch menu, it changes. And then we'd end up afterwards, we'd go to the Toby Carver and get a massive plate or something, a dinner or something. And because you're in there and you're walking away from home, I might as well have a couple of beers.
Yeah.
And they'd like 3 or 4 beers anyway. And that was just day in, day out, day in, day out. I wasn't going boozing hard all the time, but you're still having 3 or 4 beers every night. What I would never do at home. But because I was working away, it was like, there's no gyms here. There's nothing else to do. Might as well have a beer, mightn't we? And that becomes, and it is the norm for many, many people, as you'll know. And it's just, we wonder why.
Yes.
The industry is in a place that it's in.
Yeah.
And you just take a look at ourselves, the industry. And that's our point with the accountability from the industry. It's like, please invest in the research you're doing, get your message out with all this, because we don't know. And we're our own worst enemy.
I mean, it's a positive message at the end of the day, because the issue is, okay, I don't work in construction.
Yeah.
So I can't tell anyone like how to do their job or anything. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. But from what I know about the factors that impact male mental health, you look at the construction industry and you're like, there are loads of factors here that are really difficult. Where you've spoken about it before with the program pressure.
Yeah.
Stress is going to have massive impacts on things like our sleep, our hormonal health. You combine that with things like the payment protocols, lack of financial security, not knowing whether you can provide, issues like that. Then we combine it with when you're doing that halfway around the M25 every day, how can you sleep properly? It's very difficult. And then you're going and getting the Mackie D's. So it's all the factors stacked against you. And then rather than addressing them or looking at them, we're instead saying, oh no, it's the men's fault because they're not talking.
Yeah. So again, the talk, your bait is so right, isn't it? It's like, I'm sure there's not the talking bit there. There's a few other things.
There's a few other things. I'm not saying talking's irrelevant. Neither of us are saying that. We're just saying, hold on a minute. If you've got blinkers and you're looking at just this one thing, when you're signposting anyone to any help, you'll always be taught that what you need to do is you need to give them a realistic idea of that thing. You can't sugarcoat. You can't be like, oh, this is the solution to all your problems.
Yeah.
In the same way that you can't do that with talking. You can't say, oh no, all you've got to do is talk. Because if there's genuine issues causing someone's physical or mental health to decline, you have to actually address the root causes.
Yeah.
And I had this moment where the things we've spoken about, I just had this moment about 5.5 years ago where I was looking at all my notes spread all across my table. And I remember thinking, holy crap, because I knew Brad and I know that he did all the things we tell men in crisis do. He reached out for help, went to see his doctor, attended talking therapy, took antidepressants, called his mum every night. And she's a mental health practitioner. He was having conversations with her every single night. But I knew him well enough to know that sleep, real food, exercise, sunlight, and sobriety, they just weren't part of his list of priorities. Yeah. They weren't on my list of priorities either. And I started to realize that sometimes I think it's trying to be a man that kills a lot of men. Yeah. Because modern life is full of all these things that block testosterone production in our body by having a big impact on our overall health. Yeah. And yet we don't necessarily address them directly or prioritize the things we need to prioritize. Yeah. So understanding testosterone is really important because, as I say, low testosterone is not the problem, but testosterone is the marker for this thing called metabolic health. Because the things that reduce testosterone are sleep, inflammation, insulin resistance, it's a measurement that we can take to understand how well our body is dealing with things. Yeah. And if we want to increase it, then we need to focus more on the sleep, the real food, the exercise, sunlight, and sobriety. Yeah. So it's a nice way. When I leave site, so I'll have like someone from HR contact me a couple of days later and say, you won't believe this. I just went to the coffee machine on one of the sites and the men are talking about how much sleep they got last night. And I hear people say that men aren't interested in mental health. I do genuinely hear that, but I find it to be the opposite. I can't get men off coaching calls. We talk for hours. There's so much to talk about, but you have to provide practical solutions. Yeah. That's what's wanted. So one of the two hormones that we need to understand male mental health better, one of them is testosterone. Yeah. And that's why I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. It's incredible, isn't it? My mind's going all over the place now thinking about it. You see him with going back on the sunlight situation as well, with the likes of the countries, the Scandinavia and that, they've got higher rates of suicide based on I've heard it before, people say it, but I don't know if based on your knowledge, is it kind of factually true that these countries who have a lot less sunlight have higher rates of bad mental health / suicide?
Yeah, so I wouldn't pretend to be an expert on that, but I do recall I've spoken to one person who's really, really keen on understanding sunlight and SAD, seasonal affective disorder. Yes, yeah. And off the back
especially this time of year, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Off the back of the conversation with her, I left our conversation under the impression that in those countries, suicide rates are very high, especially during the dark winter months. That's what I haven't researched it myself.
Yeah, you can see a connection there. And backs all this up. I was in London on Wednesday when it was a lovely day. Yeah. And the town was booming. Like every pub, going the wrong way, straight into the pubs because of the British London thing to do. you thought it was midsummer. You could feel the energy in everybody around. I got to Liverpool Street and I was over at, it was Old Street for a little bit, then walked over, got on my feet. Because London's so small, and I always say it, just don't get tubes, just allow yourself a bit of time and walk everywhere. It's easy, and it's such a good city to see. But then went down to Leadenhall Market, and it was, and I was like, Christ, I was like, this feels like midsummer. At the same time, you can see that SAD and the people, and I've heard it more this year. Maybe I've been a bit more aware of it myself because it's been a few tough months. But I was just like, you could see everybody needed that sunlight on Wednesday.
Yeah,
you could feel it.
Life is solar powered.
Yeah.
Life is you feel it, don't you?
Yeah, and I suppose all this government stuff going off and the uncertainties of life at the moment and the way, especially in the UK, isn't it? It's just everything's negative as ever, but more so than ever. And you could just see it on Wednesday. I was like, fuck, everybody's booming at the man. And and like you say, they're all doing the wrong way, going booze hard in celebration of it. But it was unbelievable. And then yesterday was, I was back up there and it wasn't as much as a buzz, but it was slightly cloudy. But it's so important. And you can see why, we need sunlight.
Yeah.
And we need
big part of it.
sky.
But we have our indoor lifestyles now. And, sometimes I have days where I look at the clock and I go, oh, shit, it is 11 o'clock. I haven't been out yet.
Yeah.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah. And you didn't even notice. I was to notice it now more in meetings, unfortunately, but compared to sites, but where there's no windows and things like that. And you go out and you walk out and you're fucking hell, I forgot there's even the weather was like today. There's a whole
world out here.
and even the amount of companies that are out there who do operate in these offices or in basements without windows, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the inhumanity what's in that facility.
And there's a commercial necessity to it. We have things like rates to pay and stuff like that, and limited space and this many staff that you have to put somewhere. But at the end of the day, we've got to prioritise that lunch break where we just get out.
Yeah.
It's difficult though, because you're a site manager. There's a bang on the door every 15 seconds with someone who wants to drag you somewhere on site and show you some snagging or something that needs to be done. And so, there is a necessity to take that minute for yourself.
Yeah, incredible.
So that's one hormone. That's one of the hormones that we need to understand more about.
The two, you say?
Right, yeah. So while there are many, but the two, if you said, Ryan, you got one shot on this podcast, there's another hormone I have to tell you about. Mm-hmm. So it's called oxytocin. Now, you might have heard of oxytocin. It's got a mythical reputation when it comes to mental health. Yeah. Most people have heard about oxytocin when they're preparing for a childbirth or their partner's childbirth.
Yep.
Because oxytocin is involved in the processes of, bringing on contractions or surges in labour and breastfeeding. So that's where most people know about it from. It's often called the love hormone, the cuddle hormone, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And oxytocin is released when you do certain things. It's released when you touch those you care about, when you cry, and when you talk about how you feel. Mm-hmm. And oxytocin has been found to significantly reduce stress in women, in girls, and in other female mammals.
Yeah.
So this means that lots of women's lived experience is that when they touch those they care about, when they cry, or when they talk about how they feel, on its own, that can reduce their stress.
Yeah.
So the world hasn't changed.
I just need a cuddle.
Yeah, the world hasn't changed. The problem is still the problem. But just because you've spoken about it, or just because you cuddled, or just because you cried, you actually feel better.
Yeah.
So it could be natural then to assume that if men were to do the same thing, it would have the exact same effect. Mm-hmm. In fact, sometimes I hear people say, well, the reason why men are stressed or the reason why men are dying is purely because they're not talking about how they feel, crying, something like that. But I wondered, is it actually that simple, or is there more to it than that? So I started wondering about oxytocin and stress levels in men, which might seem like a silly thing to do, but what I could see is the research into oxytocin that shows it reduced stress seemed to just really include women and girls and female mammals. So a bit of a lack of insights with how oxytocin impacts stress in males.
Yep.
So I go off looking for studies that include males and stress levels and oxytocin. And what I learned pretty quickly is that essentially it's a bit too simplistic to think that oxytocin reduces stress in men. It doesn't seem to. And this is in line with what we know from other animals, because in other animals, oxytocin has a totally different effect on males versus females. Completely different.
Does it? Yeah.
It does wildly different things. And we could do a podcast about that, but we don't need to. Right? So we just need to know oxytocin impacts males and females differently. And it seems to be the same for us. So there are some studies that show that oxytocin does not reduce stress in men.
Okay.
And there are some studies that show that under some circumstances, oxytocin might increase stress in men who are already stressed. So this is important for us to know, because the things that release oxytocin are touching those you care about, crying, and talk about how you feel. Which for some men, when I explain this, it connects the dots, and they'll say to me things like, oh, my whole life, when I talk about how I feel, when I cry, when I cuddle, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not trying to stigmatize it at all, but they'll explain to me that on its own, that doesn't reduce my stress because the problem's still there.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not enough to reduce my stress. And I regularly work with men in my coaching practice who their experiences, they've been reaching out for help for a while, maybe for weeks, maybe for months, maybe for years. And they're often told the same thing. It's a really simplified one-size-fits-all approach. Oh, you just got to talk about it. And they are talking about it, and they're not feeling better. And so they might come to a logical but dangerous conclusion, which is if talking alone is the solution, but it's not a solution for me, then there's clearly something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And then they disengage and they don't reach out for help in the future because they think that it doesn't work for them.
Yep.
And my message to those men is, no, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. So if you ask me, talking is vital for everyone, men as well as everyone. But sometimes, and for some situations, talking is not actually the solution for men. It's just the first step on the road to finding the solution.
Yeah.
But next, men need to know what to talk about and what to do. Things like, some examples of things we've spoken about so far, like looking at that diet, looking at how we're sleeping, looking at how much alcohol we're drinking. Talking is the first step, but it's not the solution on its own. And I think that understanding those differences about oxytocin can help us to understand some miscommunications.
Yeah.
There's a really oversimplified messaging that you just got to talk, and it falls apart when you scrutinize it and look at some of the studies on oxytocin.
Yep.
And I think that understanding oxytocin can cause us to believe that if you oversimplify, you end up in a situation where women might believe men just need to talk, which is not always the case. And men might believe that women don't need to talk.
Yeah.
Which could lead to big miscommunications and cause people to feel misunderstood or relationships to break down.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. I'll tell you in a second what I think that's doing to statistics, but that's the other thing I think we need to understand is there's a real one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to oxytocin.
Yeah.
And I think that there's one-size-fits-all approaches don't work.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so many people that just isn't what they need.
It's also thinking then, like you say, some people just need a cuddle, but then they're saying at the same time, if someone's stressed to pieces and you go and give them a cuddle, they should get away from me. You know what I mean? It's like that. Yeah. So it's almost like the cuddle isn't going to work. It's stressing me out, the thought of the cuddle.
Yeah.
Whereas people say, no, but you need it because the oxytocin. And like, fuck off. You know what I mean? So how that can counter against it. In my workshops and in my book, which I don't mind plugging because the money goes to charity, but we'll talk about that later. But in my workshop and in my book, I talk through this fascinating study that I actually on stages and in training, I talk about in quite some detail because it's really interesting. But they basically brought in men and women, put them through a stressful experience, and they had them hug their partner before they went through it. Okay.
And what they found is that the hug significantly protected women from the stressful experience.
Okay.
Significantly. Stress levels returned to normal. Amazing. But in men, the most stressed group in the whole experience were men who'd been hugged by their partner.
Wow.
And when people see that, they're like, oh yeah, we can't just take what works for women and apply it to men.
No.
We're all pretty clear. We know recently, because in years gone by, studies, like medical studies, would look at the male body and then just apply it to women. That's why seatbelts go across our chest and most phones are too big for my wife's hands, stuff like that, because they're modelled on men. But we know now, we know better, and we know that women aren't just smaller men. Yeah. They're different in terms of, different support needed and that kind of thing. Yeah. The needs might be different for females versus males.
See it across the PPE in construction.
Exactly.
And the footwear.
PPE is a perfect example. It's often designed for men. Yeah. The end result is none of it fits, and that's a safety issue as well as a comfort issue. Yeah. So there's that, and an inclusion issue. Do you feel included if the only kit they give you doesn't fit you? Yeah. But so we know that women aren't just smaller men. But we still act like men are women who aren't talking about how they feel.
Yeah. Not
it's like
the other way around.
Yeah. And I think that's having a massive, massive impact. But we'll talk about stats and stuff in a second. But I think that's understanding those subtle differences in hormones is really useful.
Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? It just gets the mind, but you kind of, all different situations, especially because our industry. And you can see why we're in such a pickle, really, isn't it? Because you're not, it's just not harnessing anything. And there is a big piece, and we always say this, it's a world of corporate life meeting a subject, what it's all about about morals and being good people and doing what's right, and that doesn't often tie in with how a business makes a shit ton of money and survives, does it? But there obviously is a way, but it's trying to get those cogs to turn together and realising that is in an industry that is highly stressed under severe amounts of pressure.
Yeah.
They haven't got the time. And we've seen that mostly over the years, talking to directors of companies. And we'd be like, come and get your work. Can we get your team together? Come and do this and come and do that. And they're like, we'd love to, but we haven't got the time to do that.
Yeah.
And the reason we haven't got time because we're chasing to get paid. And if they don't get paid, those guys don't get paid. And it's more stress to them if they know they're not getting paid at the end of the week rather than, do you want to go for a kickabout on a Wednesday afternoon? Or do you want us to focus on getting the money in for you so you can be paid on Friday?
Get the money.
Yeah. It's always get the money.
Yep.
They're like, if we could just relieve that pressure, and that's where in our heads it's like, if we can figure out how these payment procedures in construction can operate better, these directors will know they've got a little bit more room to relax a little bit.
Yep.
And then if these programs aren't driven to maximise the amount of money in the short term possible, that everyone can relax a little bit more.
Do you want two sources to back that up when you're making the case? Here's two really, really important sources. So one is there's a study that came out of America, I think about 4 or 5 months ago now. It was just before I finished that book because I would have even put it in the book, but I was like, just send it to the publisher. And they hate that I'm always trying to change things anyway. So it's not in the book. But they basically, I think it was called The State of US Men. But what they did is, big research, asking people to tick boxes and things. And what they found is men who had economic pressures were 16 times more likely to have thought about ending their life in the last 2 weeks. 16 times.
Wow.
So that's really big. And then there's a really big analysis from the University of Manchester, and they did like a social post-mortem of situations where men had died from suicide in 2017.
Yeah.
And that's the background. But what they actually found is that 57% of middle-aged UK men who died from suicide in their inquiry were experiencing economic problems at the point where they died. So that's most middle-aged men who died from suicide had economic problems at the point where they died.
Yeah.
We need to be addressing economic problems.
Yeah.
And there's loads of, and people say, that's just because they're happening at the same time doesn't mean they're related. No, they are related. Yeah. There's loads of really good quality evidence that shows that if you improve your financial situation, then it improves male mental health and reduces suicide risk.
And when you look at things like the small margins and all that kind of stuff, the 1% extra, and if someone goes 57%, well, that's not all of them, is it? And like, no, but if we do tackle that 57%, that's a lot of lives.
It's massive.
Yeah, that is a lot of lives, isn't it? I mean, you've got all these, all the studies you've done, you've got online as well with your work, and you've backed up, you've got links to it all.
So normally, if you got me on 6 months ago, I'd have said, I don't do the studies. I learn from them. Yeah. But I've been running this coaching practice now for 5 years. I'd like to see that Manchester
one. Yeah, there's a few things that fascinate me.
Really useful. But that's about to change because a little while ago, so my coaching program is called the Future Self Program. I give the money from it to charity. I make my money from talks, training, and webinars.
Yep, amazing.
So, coaching doesn't make money for me. It's one brilliant charity that I raise money for. So, a little while ago, I started asking the men, are you happy can you consent to me using your depression scores, which is a measure of how depressed people are, and your testosterone levels? Can you consent to me using them publicly for a study? And 19, actually a little bit more, 22 men said, yes, do it. Only 19 I could use because the rest forgot to fill in the questionnaire afterwards. So I've got data from these 19 men, which I've put together, I've typed up a paper. I'm going to make sure it's publicly available in the next couple of weeks. But you can see how things like the medication they were taking impacted or showed great big differences in their testosterone levels.
Yeah.
So some interesting associations there. But what's really fascinating is these men followed a daily goal-setting protocol. It's called the Tough 21 protocol. It's very strict. You've got to turn up every day and confirm you went to bed sober last night. You achieved your daily goal yesterday and tell us what your goal is for today.
Yeah.
You have to turn up every day and do that. And you have to achieve your goal every day. You choose what it is, but you have to achieve it.
Yeah.
So they did that for 21 days. What we found is an enormous reduction in their depression scores, which I suspected anyway, because I'd already seen their depression scores. I just never published them anywhere. And we found that it didn't seem to matter how old people were. It didn't seem to matter what medications they were taking. Almost all, but I think 2 men, their depression scores were below the cutoff for minimal depression. So basically, no matter how severe their depression was at the beginning, 21 days of setting and achieving goals.
Yeah.
Meant at the end of that, there was almost no symptoms of depression. Yeah. They hadn't, it kind of defies what we think male mental health is all about, because they hadn't had a chance to talk about how they felt.
Yeah.
There's no time. You've got 1 minute every morning. There's 4 of you. You've got to check in. Go.
Yeah.
And then they're back 24 hours later.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting, this is an alternative. I'm not suggesting, people should be doing this instead of talking therapy. That would be ridiculous. What I am saying is, this took 5 hours of my time.
Yeah.
As a coach.
Yeah.
The guys attended a couple of workshops. One where they were taught how to set goals. One where they were taught about metabolic health and testosterone and how carbohydrates impact testosterone levels.
Yep.
And then we're doing it. 21 days of checking in every day.
Yeah.
So it's
how
really
do you measure
interesting.
The depressions? What's the depression scale? How do you measure that?
Yeah, so I use this questionnaire. It's called the BDI-2, which stands for Beck Depression Inventory 2. And it's basically just about 20 questions or something.
Yep.
The reason I chose the BDI-2 is because it's used a lot to measure the effectiveness of talking therapy.
Okay.
So I thought if we can, have a similar tool, then we can measure. And there's a few different studies on talking therapy that suggest that if you do 12 weeks of CBT, 1 hour a week, you might, if you end up with something like, 30 to 45% reduction in depression scores, that's great. Yeah. Really good. You've been to 12 weeks of an hour a week talking therapy. In these 19 men, we averaged a 69% reduction in depression scores. Really? Turn up every day, tell us your goal, go do it. It just changes the narrative on why were these men depressed? Yeah. There were 4 men in that sample who were having thoughts about suicide at the beginning. By day 22, it was 2. By day 90, it was 0.
So and I suppose it's a bit of, you're in that as a team, as people are thinking, right, I'm on every morning, I'm fresh, I'm going again, I'm on it. And you just remain on it. And you've got a bit of backing with each other doing it as well, I suppose.
There's this amazing story. It says one guy, after he completed the Tough 21 protocol, we had our first coaching call together the following week, because I don't start the coaching until they've done that, because that teaches everyone how to set and achieve goals.
Right frame,
and also means they don't have symptoms of depression, which, it's easier to do coaching when you're not depressed.
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking, if you're coaching people and they're getting pissed every night, and there's no point. There's just counteracting it all. Yeah.
So this guy had done the Tough 21 protocol. During that 21 weeks, he'd been made redundant as well. Wow. So he's in this situation where, and he still had a massive reduction in his depression scores according to the BDI-2. So we get on the call and I say to him, look, this was your score at the beginning. This is what it was yesterday. And, we went through things like his testosterone levels and what it might mean. And he said, Ryan, you don't understand. He said, you don't understand, mate. He said, got made redundant. He said, I'm not seeing my kids. He said, for 21 days, I've slept under the table in my kitchen because the only thing I have in the whole world, the only team I'm part of, are you lads with me checking in every morning. Yeah. He said, this has kept me going for 21 days.
Amazing.
So we carried on doing check-ins until the end of the 90 days that we worked together. And by then he was in a really substantially better place. So, he said literally.
Community.
Yeah. He said, I needed you to say to me 21 days ago, you turn up, you go to bed sober, you set and achieve your daily goals.
And then it's down to him.
Yeah. But he said, I needed to be told that.
Yeah.
And that was... that made him feel like part of something.
Yeah, we've blown our trumpets, but we got that with the sport. And I was sitting here a few months ago, and I said to him, we've got a WhatsApp group for paddles, just the latest one come up. We've got a rugby one, was 150, 130 rugby players across the whole UK and Ireland. And
love it.
Football, all different sports. We've set up a WhatsApp group community, and I was like, what is it? What's working with this? Because all these groups were made up of people who don't know each other. And we realised it was the community side. That is like this like-minded people who know they've got a hobby the same as someone else in that group. And there's not much goes on, but when an event's coming up, it builds up. That group gets a bit busy when we know we've got set in the diary. And a lot of guys, even though it's a cycling one, we've got an event coming up in April. And since we said, let's go, and a couple of guys there, Jeff especially, he's like, right, I'm back in the game. Mm-hmm. I've got a target now, we're going. And everyone's buzzing again. But that community is, I say, sport is, it's one of it's to us, it's the main kind of thing. But bigger than that is the community that this makes. And for a minute, if I say, let's say Eva who works for us, who loves her knitting, I'm like, that is this part of it. That's your hobby, that's your interest, and that's what you're doing, and giving yourself that time. We've done one, Mark Eastwood, his name, I'm not sure if you know the name. He of Happy Treats, he's got a company that helps with trauma support for us. So if we have people come through the doors who need urgent care and urgent support, we fund it out from here as a charity, and Mark's team get involved. And they've been amazing for us. But I spoke to them in 2017, 2018, and he called it 70-30, and it was all about having 70% of your time at work, you be professional, do the job you're tasked to do, but then make sure you have 30% of looking after yourself in terms of hydrating yourself, stretching your legs, getting fresh outdoors. And at the same time, flip side it, when you go home of a weekend or of an evening, 70% of your time give to your loved ones, your family, serve your family as well as you should do, and all that. But be selfish enough to say you've got to go and do your own bit of exercise, and you have that 30% still of looking after yourself in a selfish way, but for the right reasons. And I've kind of adopted that over my lifetime, since the last 8 years really, and that's really helped me. I'm like, my wife can see it as well, and we see it in each other in the family. It's just like, I'm like, dog, she'll be like, right, you need to take the lead off and let you go for a run, go for a jog for an hour. And then that's just all I want. Just go and let me do a half hour, and then I'll be better for everybody around me at home. And yeah, and you can see, and I think that resonated with me quite heavily, especially when it got taught, we were told about it, was because it was in this world of construction where it was just family work, family work, family work. And there was no rugby in there. There was no run into things. And hurting myself. And that's kind of, what are you seeing that goes, with it all now then? Are you still researching all the time? I suppose you're still learning day in, day out.
Less than I was.
Yeah.
So when I got the book out, I then promised myself that I was going to stop reading every scientific journal that came out that was anything to do with it. Yeah. And that's been really good for me, actually. Yeah. It's been really good for me to just focus on
reflect.
One talk at a time, one coaching conversation at a time, one podcast interview at a time. Yeah. That's been really good for me. But also because the travel, especially the international stuff, has picked up so much since the book came out. It's like I can't be doing the level of research that I was doing. But I still do a lot.
Burn out yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. But I still do a lot. You mentioned the purpose and teamwork side of things.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you about Little Samaritans finding about that, which is quite interesting. So 2020, the Samaritans, they published this paper called Men's Suicide in Society. Really relevant. And what they did in that, actually, I might have named the wrong Samaritan study, but we can put a link to it in the thing, because they've done a couple that I think are really relevant. But in this 2020 study, what the Samaritans did is they reached out, they interviewed men who'd reached out for help and said, it was engaging what I got. And they asked them, what was it about it? And two interesting things came out of this study. So one is what the men said had engaged them. And so it seems that when men reach out for help, what they're looking for, what engages them is the opportunity to feel like part of a team.
Yeah.
The opportunity to work towards shared goals and the opportunity to make a contribution.
Yeah.
So sport does that.
Yeah.
Especially team sports.
Even to the point of what we've found on our events, we've done even the walks, the people who take, and even the spin bikes really, the people who take even more out of it are normally the people who are the support vehicle drivers, the ones who almost thought, I'm injured or I'm unable to help a team.
Yep.
But then get put into a position where they realise they were needed as part of that team.
Yes.
And that's been huge for me. And even with the spin bikes, people who aren't signed up to do it or injured or just don't fancy it, come round the bikes and cheer on their colleagues to like get a big score, and they become part of it.
It's purpose.
100%.
It's purpose. We need a purpose.
Yeah, they originally felt, I'm no good, I'm overweight, my knees are gone, I can't do this. And it's like, I need you to get this van to there and unload it, get the lunch ready for everybody. And they're away. You know, they're buzzing. They're like, I am the team, and we can't operate without those people. 100%. You need them, and that's been the best way we go into place. Go, no, I can't do that because of this. I'm like, don't worry, you don't have to take part. I'm taking you though because we need you.
Yeah.
And you have to lead them to do it. But then they're so thankful and purpose felt that. Wow, I didn't realise that. And they're buzzing off the back of it. Yeah.
And if you look at what happens when men reach out for support, like the traditional kind of the current approach, none of it's geared around giving you more of a purpose. It's more you talk about your problems, we'll work on your problems.
Yeah.
But actually there's reasons to believe that, I'll give you one practical example, but the men that I work with in my coaching program, when they're checking in or, doing the daily check-ins, the weekly check-ins, that kind of thing, I share my goals exactly the same, and I explain, you're here to keep me accountable. So if you ever feel like, you messed up last week and you didn't achieve lots of things, you still got to come because your job is making me accountable. So you got to come.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yeah. We've had, similar to that as well, a lot of the things we come across in terms of men especially are not good at helping themselves, but they're fucking brilliant at helping their mates in a way. And I say that, you need to do this. And we'll be like, why? Because he needs you to. And if you don't, you're going to let him down. And then they're more inclined to do it rather than, I can let myself down. I let myself down all the time.
And systems should use this knowledge, absolutely. Because that Samaritan study that I mentioned, what the two really interesting things that I like that they found. So one is, what made support engaging for men. But the other thing is the study literally says the men were really clear that this would be very engaging for other men too.
Yeah.
They were very clear. They were like, when men are engaged by programs that help them to make a contribution and feel like part of a team.
Yeah.
And the men were very confident that this would help other men engage as well. But we're not listening to that message.
Yeah.
We're still doing the one-on-one, you talk about your problems, not, right, okay, appreciate you got those problems. We're going to deal with them. But also, in the meantime, you've got 2 legs, you've got 2 arms. Help the team, please. Carry the bike, And that's so beneficial alongside everything else.
Yeah, as this all smoke up on our asses, shall we say. But we love it because all of these studies come back and we look at what we've been doing and go, we're doing this quite right.
Nice.
I just love it.
Yeah.
We have Luke Hands, Dr. Luke Hands. I've seen Luke, Health and Safety Director at Ardmore. He's done a doctorate degree on mental health in construction.
Okay.
I can get that over to you. Just send it over so you can see it. Really interesting. And he got in touch, because he was like, everything he's found, it leans towards purpose and exercise and getting people out. And I was like, thank you for your 4-year study. That's just backed us up massively. But yeah, he's really interesting. He's done a lot on the DAS scale as well. Have you done much of that, or do you ever use it? Yeah, the depression, anxiety, and stress, and measuring around that. And he found that quite beneficial. And yeah, looking at how that can connect it, because he said there's still a severe lack of data in the construction sector around the kind of issues that we're seeing, isn't it? And in other industries are doing it. The construction sector loves a survey, but nothing's actually really touching on the impactful stuff that can be done.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a, I don't know if I'd say a warning or something, but there's some stats that I shared at the end of that training session that you attended at Phoenix, which Jack invited you to. So thank you, Jack, for making that happen.
Yeah, no,
Phoenix ME is one of the companies in construction that I work with consistently, so that they see the importance of it. Yeah. Can I shout out the others?
Oh, 100%, please do. Yeah, we've got no holding back.
Okay, cool. Sorry if I miss anyone out.
We'll send them an invoice.
Advertising,
as many as you can.
Marketing.
No, please do. Yes. It all helps.
So some of the organisations I've worked with who've appreciated that construction's a majority male space.
Yeah.
And maybe in the future that will be, it won't be so majority male, but at the moment, inclusion has to include the majority as well.
Yeah.
So some of the organisations that I've worked with that appreciate that having male-friendly approaches can be useful in a construction site. So we've got Phoenix Mechanical Electrical, so Lovell Partnerships, Bailey Garner, and also CITB. I've done
done
quite a bit of training with them as well.
Was that in-house or for them, for other companies?
That was in-house.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so I've worked with these organisations that, and having coached many men who work in construction as well, it means that I'm getting to the stage where I'm pretty confident that we need to address some of the issues, not just saying, it's because of it's not just because of culture.
Yeah.
But the reason why, no, go on, you go first.
Yeah, I was just about to say, blowing smoke for Jack as well again, really. But I love it. So I speak to him and he's always thinking, right, next 6 months, well, how can we stay ahead of this game? They want to be leading, don't they? They want to be, and he's like, we just want to be, and he says the same, this just ain't doing enough yet. We need to push more. And I love it because him and Danny and all the guys at Phoenix have been great supporters. And Bailey's brilliant now. He's come and pushing it. I'm catching up with him actually next week with some of the social impact stuff. But the way that you can see he's going, brilliant today, but we can do more. We can do more. And I love that kind of hunger with it, isn't it? And
Jack said something really interesting when I was first with him. He said, the way that we tend to approach mental health sometimes in construction, he said, there's so much of a focus on reaction and not prevention. He said, it would be like in the physical world, us deciding, we're not going to do health and safety anymore, but we're going to double the number of first aiders on site.
Yeah.
No one could do that. It'd be illegal, right?
Yeah. Sure.
You got to prevent the accidents from happening. It's not enough just to have more first aiders on site.
Yeah.
But I mentioned that there's a bit of, I don't know if I could phrase it as strongly as a warning, but okay. Last bit of data that I think we need to know about.
Yeah.
BACP, British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. So they do a study every couple of years where they interview men and they ask them about changes that they've seen in regards to mental health. So one of the ones that I read a little while ago, it was quite clear. It showed that 79% of men agree it's more acceptable to talk about mental health than it was just 5 years ago.
Yep.
Big step in the right direction. 68% of men agree there is less stigma associated with mental health than there was just 5 years ago. Another big step in the right direction. So according to the BACP as well, between 2010 and 2022, the rate of men using talking therapy in the UK seems to have increased by about 50%. Massive. That's an enormous change.
Yeah.
On the face of it, it looks like everything's heading in the right direction, except in the same time frame that most men agree it's more acceptable to talk, there's less stigma associated with talking and mental health, and in the same time frame that the men we care about have become 50% more likely to attend talking therapy, men in the UK have also become 14% more likely to die from suicide, according to the Office for National Statistics.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting this is some strange argument that we shouldn't be doing those things. No, what I am saying, and the reason why I've pulled this information together from different sources, is making quite a nuanced argument that, yeah, these things are important, but they're not enough. There's so much more to male mental health than just making it acceptable to talk, tackling stigma, and firing more men into talking therapy.
Yeah. It's almost like we all need to go to the gym, and all they're doing is putting the gym gear on. It's like, yeah, you're getting there.
You
need to get in there.
Yeah.
You're starting, but and like you say, the signs are all looking like at that stage going the right way, but there's something else being missed here, isn't there?
Yeah, and at the beginning of that increase, the study I mentioned earlier, Men's Suicide in Society, that was actually a 2012 study, but that was by Samaritans. And what they found when they put this paper out is it wasn't too strongly worded. Yeah. If you read between the lines, the report suggests that talking therapy alone is not actually addressing thoughts about suicide in men.
Yeah.
And that takes nothing away from the effectiveness of talking therapy to help with depression, anxiety, PTSD.
Yeah.
Takes nothing away from that at all. But I'll go into this in the book. There are lots of reasons to believe that the kind of talking therapy that's made available when you reach out at the moment in the UK, it's very well suited to helping you with depression, but it's not well suited to helping with thoughts about suicide.
Yep.
So we can't just introduce more talking therapy and expect it to help if the talking therapy is not geared up to help with thoughts about suicide. Yeah. We need to be making the kind of practical changes that we're talking about.
Yeah, cool. But you see much, I've a bit of a bone to pick with it. People always saying around, especially suicide, didn't see it coming. And that kind of stuff, or you never see it coming. But then we're also trying to educate people in this space, especially in construction, of how to spot the signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen? You'll see it. I suppose you've got the research behind that. But I always say, well, we're educating our industry. Go spot the signs. But at the same time, I'm like, Robin Williams, no one spot the signs. Mm-hmm. Gary Speed, no one spot the signs. All these people who are in the clear light of day in our big wide world, celebrity world, I suppose. No one spotted the signs then, but then we're also telling people courses and how to spot those signs, knowing that they won't spot the signs. And when someone does take their life, they've got to live with that.
Yep.
Yeah. And is there much you've seen on that, I suppose, with the science of it as well, in terms of...
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think awareness is always really good. Yeah. And sometimes, like the session that you attended, Science of Mental Health at Phoenix, when we look at those signs of stress, sometimes people are like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So there is an education piece, but at the same time, I entirely agree with what you're saying as well, which is like, if we suggest, there's always signs, firstly, that's untrue. And secondly, that's going to put people in a really horrible position when they've lost a loved one, just blaming themselves. And sometimes there really are no signs. When it comes to celebrities, it's a bit of a different situation because you don't know them personally.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people close to them might be seeing other things to what we're seeing. They surely will be. But yeah, it's a balancing act really, because there's always more that can be done and should be done. But at the same time, ultimately, if someone else chooses to end their life, it's not your fault. Unless, of course, if you're bullying them, it'd be different, something like that. But if you're a concerned party who's trying to help, I'm of the camp that you can't save people. You can make tools available and support available so that they can save themselves, but you don't save them, even if you provide that. I don't like the language like, I saved him. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's brilliant you gave him those tools, but he helped himself by using them. And so if you believe you can't save people, that they save themselves, then it's also not your fault if they choose to end their lives. So I think that it's nice to have those kind of boundaries to look after yourself.
We had a lot, because we have a service with the members. We've got a number of companies that support us for a membership setup, and they included Phoenix. Another little shout. We have a service in there with Happy Treat and Mark Eastwood. If someone comes through and needs help in a desperate situation, don't know what to do, they can get in touch with us and I'll pass them straight over to Mark.
Cool.
And there's a few people who said that can be, because we had 4 people between 2021 and 2024 that needed that support, who really were a last-ditch saloon, shall we say, or the way to say it. And they went for it. It's great. And then last year alone, in the calendar year, we had 16 people who come through that. And our wings grew dramatically the year before that. I get it. And this kind of, I don't think the situation's got worse. I think it's more a case we're capturing more people in our network, really. And they varied from young kid, one child, to a couple of teenagers, to 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, a couple of males, a couple of females, a lot of men. And it kind of tied in the statistics, but there was no kind of, you could pinpoint a certain demographic of someone. But I know that when every single one of those phone calls come, and they come to me, and people say, "How do you deal with that?" I know from my own training, Mark is there. I am the middleman. I can do that. And as soon as I go, you just cut the emotion out of it, I suppose. And there are a couple of those cases that hit a little bit more differently. But I know, right, pass them on to Mark. Mark's now got them. They're in the best hands. I've done mine. Mm-hmm. Nothing else that happens outside this now is going to affect me because I know I've done my job, and that's and you kind of have to become numb to it. I get it, and I have to exercise my ways of treating my own mental health, as shall we say, and I do everything I know what I have to do in terms of supporting myself, and probably should do something my wife would argue more often. But it's understanding that, isn't it, and knowing the fact that you've got to do what you can do within your power, but at the same time, everyone is responsible for themselves in a way, isn't it? And if you'll see this as well, it's like, I can't help you unless you can help yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's if that person's not helping himself, it really is hard. It's brutal. But
it's especially relevant because my methodology is coaching.
Yeah.
And coaching, you're challenged. Yeah. You're asked open questions. You know, the job of a coach is not to give you solutions. The job of a coach is to help you to learn from yourself. Yeah. Draw that wisdom out of you, you know, and it's really a questioning technique, coaching.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was thinking while you were talking, because you mentioned that people that are using this fantastic service sounds very important, and how some of them are female, and how that's an important part of the conversation, because this conversation at the moment, obviously, I'm the men's coach. Yeah. We're talking about male mental health, but of course, anyone can have thoughts about suicide regardless of biological sex, gender identity. The other side of the coin that is getting a bit left out of the conversation at the moment is that the majority of people who attempt suicide are female.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of reasons why that's really, really relevant. One is because if we know that women and girls are more likely to attempt to end their own life, that's really important to know. Yeah. It's more likely that they're having thoughts about ending their life. But the other reason why it's very important for us to know is because sometimes I'll hear people say, the reason why men are attempting suicide, the reason why men are dying from suicide at higher rates than women is because they're not using talking therapy and women are. And it's like, okay, but women use talking therapy at a higher rate in the UK and women attempt suicide at higher rates.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as it's not a lack of talking therapy or a lack of talking in the way that women talk, because women attempt suicide at higher rates. Just with men, there's a much higher rate of them dying.
Completely,
it's not that men attempt suicide more often. It's that male suicide attempts are more fatal, and that's worth us knowing, because it lets you know that lots of the argument is at the moment, lots of the narrative is going in the wrong direction. Yeah. Because if men were to act more like women when it comes to mental health statistics, then we'd have more attempts.
Yeah.
Because women are more likely to attempt suicide than men are.
We could chat every week about that and how important it is. Men's mental health in construction needs to be addressed to protect the women as well. So like you say, I'm sure you have this, being a men's coach, and people say, why is it all about the men? It's Hannah said, but we're a male-dominated industry, and we've got a lot of women in the industry now as well, and hopefully going in the right direction. I know numbers jump up and down. But for us to be better humans, understand our own mental health as men, women will benefit from that, isn't it? And they're going to act like better people around you in less stressed environments and put them... it's so fun. We've had it quite a lot over the years because we predominantly men come to our events, but at the same time we invite out to everybody in the industry. We've never said no one can or can't. It just happens that people who sign up predominantly are men. Why? Because there's more out there in the industry to get involved with. So it's interesting, but it does benefit everyone. Are you with regards to like trauma? Is that something you've seen a lot of studies around, sort of the link with testosterone or trauma? Where's that? I've always been quite fascinated in the PTSD kind of lights and trauma and how that affects the body. Yeah,
I think it's really, really fascinating, and I'm very interested in stress hormones, but I never sell myself as an expert in trauma. I'm a real, if I had to describe myself as an expert, I'm an expert in metabolic health and how changing your life changes testosterone levels, goal setting, dopamine. I mean, if you ever wanted me back, we'd talk for an hour on dopamine. It helps us understand so much.
100%.
Our distractions and the current narrative around dopamine is misleading. It's too simple for it to be useful. So that's a problem. But no, I wouldn't say I was an expert in trauma. My thoughts about trauma wouldn't be unique or something. I'd just be quoting other people, really. I have known some men who've had real hormonal problems. That in out of this group of people that I'm thinking about, that had really, really traumatic events happening in their childhood. And that had impacted the way their body had gone into puberty.
Okay. Yep.
So maybe they'd gone into puberty like 5 years later than you'd expect, or just not gone into it at all. Yeah. So we know there's a massive impact on hormones. Stress hormones affect sex hormones. Impact sex hormones. Stress and sex hormones impact one another, which is why stress reduces testosterone. Testosterone protects us from stress. But no, not an expert in trauma.
Yeah, that's the next book. You'll come back for that. Super. Is there anything we haven't got to? I think we've touched on a lot.
I think it's really great what you're doing in terms of the sport element is very, very, very relevant because it brings together the purpose, the teamwork element, the physical exercise, the goals to set. I think, you're doing a lot of the right things from what I've seen. So
thank you.
I appreciate it.
We've got a tick from Ryan. We'll be on. We'll be in the front of our book. Yeah, right. There's one of our books so far.
Ryan Parke thinks this is good.
Thumbs up from Ryan.
A little badge. A little blue
what's
badge.
coming up for you, 2026 then? A lot of getting air miles in?
Yeah, I'm having a wild year in terms of international travel. It's mainly international schools, actually.
Is it really?
Yeah. And
that's promising, isn't it?
Really promising, mainly for an organisation called Mind Your Health. So George Peterkin, if you're listening, shout out to you. He's doing some really brilliant work. So trips that I will have coming up. Yeah. Did I mention them here? Did I speak about before we started? I think I spoke about before we started, didn't I?
You've got a couple of trips coming up. There's Thailand.
Yep.
Sao Paulo you've been to?
Yeah. I've got lots of those trips coming in. Trying to fit in between that. Talks in the UK.
Yeah.
And also I've got an 18-month-old son.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And
what's his name?
so he's Max or Maximilian.
Yeah.
So I've got Emma and Max at home. So got to be around for them, look after them.
On your feet.
Yeah. Last week, Emma sent me a video. I was just delivering a talk for a construction company, actually. I was just delivering a talk. And afterwards, checked my phone and there's a video of Max and Emma throws toys to the sofa and he walks
he's
for the first time.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh no, everything's changed now. So that's it. He's now walking.
Gates are up.
Yeah, gates are up. Yeah, and the gloves are off.
So
now he can wander around the house and do all his own things.
Oh, amazing. It's an incredible time, isn't it?
Yeah, just loads of really good things happening. I'm going to do a second edition of this book later on in the year.
Brilliant.
I told myself I'd leave it for a year. If ever anyone asks...
You can see it on the camera, can you, Al?
Oh, yeah. Get a close-up on that.
How to help him.
So if ever anyone asks, what's your advice? I'm thinking of writing a book. What's your advice? My advice is don't.
Really? Yeah.
It was terrible. It was like, 6 months of all my... It just took so much out of me because I wanted to do it a certain way. I wanted to include all the sources to everything I spoke about. So it's supported by 340 sources, which are in there.
Can you read that out? That's to you.
Can you see I signed your name with lipstick?
You hold it up a little bit.
Alex, thank you so much for welcoming me onto the Construction Sport podcast. I hope this book is a useful resource for your important work.
I didn't realise you'd signed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can write. Yeah.
I've got to bring
I didn't realise you were capable of that.
I need a holiday. That's why if I go on holiday, I can sit and read books.
Yeah. So I wanted to do it a certain way. So the 340 sources are in there. I had it fact-checked by experts in 4 disciplines.
Amazing.
So that came out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
Because to me, I had to do that. And also some of the things that the fact-checkers pointed out. There were some things I missed. Not big things to do with I didn't misunderstand any of the key concepts. But at one point, one of my fact-checkers, she was like, yeah, Ryan, you said this study pointed this out, but it was a study on birds. I was like, oh, I didn't realise that. She's like, yeah, look at the front cover of the scientific journal. There's a parakeet on it. I was like, oh, okay. So I was using a study on birds to talk about studying humans. But luckily, I could just swap it for another study to back up the point. So it was an amazing, amazing experience. And I'm going to do a second edition and then leave it.
He says that now.
Yeah,
and you get to go, oh, no, I forgot something. That's the next one.
Oh, it's so bad. I've got a few friends that are really into music.
Yep.
And one of them, he said to me, in music, we have this saying that an album's never complete. It's just given up on.
Okay.
And it's like that with books. It's never complete. You just give up on it. And you're like, just leave it. Yeah. Stop letting me edit it.
I've had a couple of messages come through. A bunch of publishers going to do really interested in we can do a story and all this. I'm like, yeah, maybe one day we might do something at our end.
Yeah.
But I like to say when we get to a place where we're very comfortable, it's all looking well, we could do a journey of what's been going on the last 10, 15 years
that'd be
us. Cool. But the idea started. Not sure if it'd be number 1 on Netflix, but we'll give it a go. I'm currently on that side, the Gordon Ramsay one at the moment. That's good. The new documentary that's come out from him and his journey. Over the last year, they followed him for a year with Netflix cameras. And it's really cool. 22 Bishopsgate, right outside Liverpool Street. Mm-hmm. He's got the top 2 floors of that, overlooking under the highest restaurants now in London.
Oh, wow.
And he needed 20 million quid to get up and running. So the bank have done it. And I think Netflix have probably contributed quite heavily to that now as well. So he's not sweating too much. Yeah, you don't feel sorry for him when he's doing it.
Yeah.
But Ryan, thanks a million for coming down. Maximilian, thanks for coming down, sharing all your knowledge. That's incredible. And we will be pushing you about as much as we can with this one as well. And then where can people get hold of you?
Yeah, so easiest way to get hold of me is from my website, which is themenscoach.co.uk. You've got links on there to my coaching program, my book, stuff like that. And the last thing that I'd always just say as well is, I talk a lot about like male mental health, hormonal health, testosterone, that kind of thing. But that's not because I'm suggesting that men are more important or anything. I think that this isn't an exercise in putting people in boxes.
Yep.
It's about giving people tools so they can get themselves out of the boxes they find themselves in.
Yep.
And I hope that comes across. That
definitely, there's many areas to be studied, and you've just studied this area. It's amazing. I'm sharing the knowledge because it's an area where we need the help, and especially construction. And I'm sure, Jack will highly praise it up when he shares it as well, because he can't talk highly enough of you. And we will carry on pushing you. There's a few people I know who could benefit from it company-wise as well. So, no, really, really appreciate it. Safe travels and all the best.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Al.
Cheers, Ryan.
Okay.